Hello. So, living the life story of Christ. Living the Christ. So we're continuing. Embracing the story as a living experience. So, we have no middleman here. We're not going through ecclesiastical forces. There's nobody that you need to confess to here. We're going straight to the door. The living stream, the water of life, the bread of life. So, we'll continue with where we began in the life story of the Sermon on the Mount. So the water of life, this is the stream. This is the Spirit. Okay. The bread of life, this is the Son. This is the flesh. So when you hear of the teacher saying that I am the bread of life, that I am the water of life, these are the synonyms to be referred to. We'll go directly with his words. There's three things that the teacher sent his apostles to go and proclaim. The original meaning of the gospel means to proclaim the good news, the glad tidings. And this is summarized in the 10 Beautitudes. These are the essence of the Sermon on the Mount. And if one practices this, then you could say that you are aligning with Christ. You're entering to the door. You take his word as the truth, which is meant by I am the way, the truth, and the life. He is the life. It means he's inseparable from the Spirit, the water of life, the Spirit, etc. I am the way. Which means that he's gathering his flocks now from the multitude. He says, here, this is the way, man. Why are you going in that direction? Here's the door. Okay? And the way, the life, and the truth. The truth of eternal life. The truth of the fatherhood of God and the sonship of man. Acceptance of this truth is entryway into the family of fatherhood of God and a brotherhood of man. That family is what was meant by the kingdom. And it's immediately you are then recognized as a child of the Most High. Child of God. And worthy. Salvation is yours then through faith and faith alone. And you've entered the door means that you've actually accepted Christ as a teacher. And you could listen. So let's begin. Three things that in the Sermon on the Mount that Christ has sent his ambassadors, the apostles, which means to go out and proclaim, to go forth. The three messages, if it were to be summarized, was to proclaim liberty to those who are spiritually captive. It is to proclaim joy to those who are in the bondage of fear, and to heal the sick, ministering to the sick and to the poor who are ailing. This is important, that the message of the gospel, the glad tiding, or the good news, is that there is liberty from captive. When you feel freed, when you feel enslaved, when you feel trapped, when you feel like there's no way out, that the good tidings carried in the Sermon on the Mount are capable of freeing the spiritually bound. As we create this own box, I mean, the teachings of the teacher has shown, like, here's the door, but because of our pride, we have created this trap, this box for ourselves. I'm not sure I want to go through that door. It's kind of scary. It does require full submission to the Father's will, and it gives plenty of analogy on this. I don't think it should just be taken just like naively. A conscious choosing to do that has always been the teaching there. Do not take any word for granted here. Your conscious choice of entering into that family of a fatherhood of God and brotherhood of man is a conscious choosing. And I believe that, the conscious choosing and then to go through winning your spiritual victories. So, proclaim liberty to the spiritually captive and to bring joy to those in the bondage of fear while healing, being an aid to the sick. And it's important that it's not you who's doing the healing here. And when Christ was administering to the poor, he said two things specifically. First, tell no one. Second was that your faith has healed you. It was through faith. And it's through this gospel there, but like getting yourself out of the way. Laying down the spiritual pride, laying down the ego to actually accept the Beautitude, accept the good news. It's like somebody who loves you, but you can't accept it. I know it's hard. Very hard. I'm like that too. I rejected this message for so long, my entire life. Okay, I thought I knew it. Intellectually, I knew it. I was studying books knowing it. I said, I'm already at the door. I don't have to enter. And knowing it was already a trap. And then I was using that as an excuse from actually entering through the door, letting the Spirit proclaim that good news. And so that joy it's already here. But you have to enter the door too. The faith is required to actually accept that through it's the concept of God as Father. You may not understand why even your earthly father, you may not understand all the times that he had to reprimand you. You may not understand all the times where he had to restrain you when you were thoughtless or you may hurt yourself. But nevertheless, it's not difficult to see when you enter into adulthood your Father's motive of love, especially when you have children and you start having to exercise restraint, how it is based on love. So that this love is equal. It's undivided. There's no respecter person for any of his children there. All are worthy and deserving of that love, and that faith in that Father's love automatically entitles you to be part of the family. It's like somebody invites you into the home and they love you, welcome, and you can't receive it. It means you're consciously rejecting being in the family. Here's the invitation, here's the door, and that was the message of the teacher. I am the door, that all of that the good shepherd, he gathers his flock and they enter through this door. So spiritually, brings spiritual liberty to those who are held in bondage. Bring joy. The original teaching was to proclaim the good news. It should not make you depressed to actually hear the news. And second, to encourage faith, because it's the faith that heals, and the humility, the surrender to, but it's faith. It requires that humble, surrendered humility to not have to say, this is my doing. I did this. I healed you. You would see within the teacher himself, he never took credit for any of the miracles. Never took credit for any of the healings. He didn't even take credit for Lazarus being resurrected from the dead. Anyone who was healed, the man who outstretched his hand, the man who could then see, it was inspired by faith. And it was the Spirit that healed. It was the Spirit that manifested these healings. Faith alone. Faith alone. So, once again, the Beautitudes of the Sermon on the Mount. This is important. That happy are the poor in spirit, the humble, for theirs are the treasures of the kingdom of heaven. Happy are they who hunger and thirst for goodness, for they shall be filled. Happy are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Happy are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Happy are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Happy are they who weep, for they shall receive the spirit of rejoicing. Happy are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Happy are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God, children of God. Happy are they who are persecuted for goodness' sake, for theirs are the kingdom. And happy are you when others insult you and speak ill will of you. Great is your reward. So, this is the good news. And stepping into the path of, we understand, of having to turn the other cheek if it's necessary. That gospel of non-resistance that is being spoken to by the teacher does not mean that you are weak. It takes courage. It takes strength. It takes heroism, valor, to actually be willing to die for that truth enshrined in your heart. It takes courage to actually speak this, to have the faith to proclaim this to the world. That was what the apostles went out to do as ambassadors of the gospel, meaning the good news. This, my friend, is the good news.